David versus Goliath.
It's unfortunate that it happened this way.
Tonight, a small town taking on big oil.
This is where it looks like it's coming from.
Plus,
the computer programmers are idiots. I'm sorry, but
tensions boil over at the tag agency.
Tell them to get busy and get some damn together and straighten it out.
You're watching Oklahoma's News 4 at 10.
Well, turmoil at the tag agency. Gremlins in the system creating a new debacle for DPS.
People who've waited months to get a real ID showing up for their appointment only to learn the system has crashed, forcing them to leave empty-handed.
News 4's Peyton Yeager on the story for us.
A big problem is DPS had to move all of the old data over to the new system. And then after that, they had major outages in the server. And DPS forced to report the issues to an outside entity to come in and help. All of this taking up time.
Tell them to get their busy and get some together and straighten it out.
At the top of Ted DeBoard's list, renewing his driver's license. His blood boiling, waiting for hours in the cold at one of the only walk-in tag agencies in the metro.
Yeah, they're telling us the computer's shut down and may not come back up.
Monday, same statewide slowdown, different day for DPS.
the computer programmers are idiots. I'm sorry, but
Rachel Ellis finally able to inch her way to the front of the line in Chickasha.
apparently they got a new computer system, so they only have 2 of them set up. So fix it.
From like 7 to 9 a.m., it works great. Everything's working great. And then about 9 a.m., when more people start getting on the system, is kind of when we're seeing these slowdowns.
So when a problem pops up, they're forced to fall back on a separate state agency, the Office of Management and Enterprise Services, or OMES, for help.
Do I have a timeline on when it'll get better? No, but I can assure everybody that we are working on it.
OMES saying they're still investigating the root cause of the errors, offering their resources to assist the vendor, IDEMIA, and Microsoft. Meanwhile, Ted worried with no concrete answers, the panic of deadlines will continue to creep closer.
I ain't never stood out here like this before.
DPS says it's going to extend its hours into the nights and the weekends, and we asked them if it can't handle the load now, how will it during these extra shifts? DPS assures everything will work out and we'll stay on top of it. At DPS, Peyton Yeager, Oklahoma's News 4.
Thank you, Peyton. Another big problem at DPS right now is appointment times. People are booking 3 months out, but we've heard of some with appointments set for June. The new system is partly to blame, but DPS says another issue is people making multiple appointments, sometimes 3 or 4 months, which is clogging things up.
Also tonight, a major snag in OKC's effort to clean up from that October ice storm. Maybe not as major as it is minor, but it was a mess. Take a look. A contractor picking up branches in the area of Southeast 59th and Shields accidentally snapped a power pole and took out a stoplight. Police telling us it happened when the driver made a sharp turn. They were called to help with traffic, and only one nearby business was affected by the outage. Over the last couple of months, the city says contractors have picked up more than 60,000 tons of debris from that storm.
Now, first weather from the Forewarned Storm Team.
And our Oklahoma weather has a way of evening out. It was a beautiful day today. Let's take a look at our sunset. Kind of capped off a picture-perfect day after that cold, frosty start. We had light winds all day and temperatures rebounded nicely. Mid-50s for a high today here in Oklahoma City, and that beautiful sunset. Look at this view here of Lake Hefner this afternoon. Perfectly glass out there. These are great pictures from our viewers, and we appreciate them. Really tells the story about our light winds we had today. 36 in Oklahoma City tonight, along with Enid, 43 in Clinton, 46 in Woodward. Altus is 41, 43 in Alva. A ridge of high pressure is moving in. That means some spring-like temperatures are just around the corner. But around the next corner is cross-polar flow. And there is a huge amount of bitterly cold air up here, and it means big business. And it's coming to Oklahoma. I'll have that timeline on that cold weather coming up.
Thank you, Mike. It is the final day of witness testimony in the murder of 94-year-old Evelyn Goodall. Today, the family of her neighbor, Robert Hashigan, taking the stand in his defense. News 4's Cassandra Sweetman back in the courtroom today.
Jolene Hashigan's sister, who is also a good friend of Goodall's, adamant that her brother is innocent. Caught in the middle of a terrible tragedy, accused murderer Robert Hashigan's sister, Mindy Herndon. Herndon was a longtime neighbor and close friend of Evelyn Goodall, the 94-year-old woman savagely beaten in her home. Herndon considered Goodall family. Meanwhile, her brother Hashigan stayed with her in her home on and off for years. She insisted Goodall had met Hashigan on multiple occasions and that if the woman suspected he was her attacker, she would have identified him before she died from her injuries. In court, both Herndon and her husband swore Hashigan was asleep on the couch the morning Goodall was attacked next door back in 2013. Prosecutors firing back that that's not what they originally told investigators in interviews after the cold case was picked up again. In fact, prosecutors argued the couple never told investigators he was asleep on the couch. The defense also bringing in 2 Oklahoma County Jail inmates who knew Hashigan. This after another inmate testified saying Hashigan confessed and that Hashigan told him, quote, she murdered herself. But on Monday, the defense's 2 inmates called that informant a liar. Tomorrow, closing statements by the prosecution and the defense. Then the decision will be handed over to the jury. Kevin.
All right, Cass, we know you'll be there for it. On the night beat, a David and Goliath situation tonight in Bethel Acres. Residents infuriated with the situation involving a new oil operator in town. And here's why. They haven't even gotten their permit to operate oil wells in the town yet, and there's already a big mess to clean up. News 4's Austin Brissett with the story and a tense city council meeting tonight. Austin?
Yeah, city council members grilling the owner of Hood Enterprises LLC for the better part of 30 minutes, asking him why a pump jack he had bought from a previous oil operator had been turned on before he had a permit to do so, and then asking why an oil spill occurred shortly after.
It's unfortunate that it happened this way.
Sean Hood with Hood Enterprises LLC standing in front of the Bethel Acres City Council trying to explain this.
This is where it looks like it's coming from.
An oil spill stemming from this pump jack that hasn't been on in roughly 2 years. Hood buying the pump jack from Abundance Energy, who is still the operator on record of the site. Council members saying they didn't properly take care of it.
There was a failure here with the previous owner.
That well wasn't in compliance. It was not safe. It wasn't inspected properly.
State law requiring permits from the Corporation Commission and municipalities to operate well sites within city limits. Hood not obtaining that yet, but still instructing OG&E to turn its power on, saying they had no intentions to operate them at the time, though.
There's a lot of reasons to turn the electric on to be able to check things without actually producing oil.
But
they didn't realize that the well was still active, or the pump was still active.
The pump jack's pipe had a cut in it, resulting in this. These pictures from nearby residents.
I think they should have been out there to begin with.
I do too.
When the power was turned back on, they know that the power had been off for years.
And neighbors like Mary Bolin, who has livestock in the area that drink from the creek, frustrated.
I wouldn't want to drink from it. And I'd like to think that the animals that don't have a choice will be drinking from it.
Officials with the city say anyone within about 1,000 feet of the spill should have their water checked. Council members still hopeful moving forward.
He at least showed up to answer the questions, answer and address our concerns in a positive way. So that is a hopeful step moving forward on this.
The total amount of oil spilled into the creek is not officially known, and the Oklahoma Corporation Commission has not issued any fines as of right now. And a contracted company for Hood Enterprises LLC was still cleaning the creek as of this afternoon. In Bethel Acres, Austin Brissett, Oklahoma's News 4.
All right, Austin, thanks. Now, Hood told the council that he plans to come to meetings on the first Monday of every month to provide them with updates on their operation.
Oklahoma is now nearing 400,000 cases of COVID-19 after another 1,300 new cases reported today. But for the 7th day in a row, hospitalizations have dropped once again, this time by 61. Meanwhile, 17 more Oklahomans have lost their lives, and COVID-19 dominating much of Governor Stitt's third State of the State address.
2020 was a year unlike anything we've experienced in our lifetimes. My vision is to get our summer back, and we can do it by continuing to lead the nation in vaccinations.
Governor Stitt saying it is important Oklahoma stays in business and that children stay in school.
We will keep burdens low on our taxpayers. We'll support our oil and gas industry and protect it from radical liberals in Washington. We'll protect the rights of unborn children. and stand up for the personal and religious freedoms of Oklahomans.
At times during the past year, instead of focusing on our state's pandemic response, and at times ignoring our surging COVID case numbers and hospitalizations, Governor Stitt has seemed to be distracted by national politics.
House Democrats, on the other hand, criticizing the governor for not issuing a mask mandate. Oklahoma is one of just 12 states without one. And aside from the Democrats, another group was gathered in protest against Governor Stitt, and this one outside of the Capitol.
The governor likes to say that we are on our way to becoming a top 10 state. Well, if you look around, it doesn't feel very top 10 here to me.
The group accusing the governor of not representing marginalized communities and for mismanaging the pandemic. However, the state chamber says they're looking forward to working with the governor on some of the issues in the upcoming legislature. The state chamber also pointing to local businesses being able to stay open as a positive and say they agree with the governor on getting children back in school.
All right, Jolene, thanks. And as the pandemic rages on, a new round of loans are up for grabs for small businesses. Up next, Adam Snyder goes in your corner, going to walk you through all the restrictions and the challenges your business could face. And my buddy Mike's in the Forewarned Storm Center. It's the 1st of February, my friend, but feels more like the 1st of March, huh?
It does. A little taste of springtime out there. Closed out January. It was a little colder than normal, in case you're interested. Today, a little breath of springtime. There's more of that, but there's also, folks, some Arctic air coming. We'll take a look at the very latest timeline for Oklahoma weather, and that's coming up.
You're watching Oklahoma's News 4 at 10 with Jolene Chaney, Kevin Ogle, Mike Morgan, Brian Brinkley, and Adam Snyder in your corner. Oklahoma's News 4, looking out for you.